All right, business owners, I just got back from Google Marketing Live in California, and this is my part 2. There will be a link for the first part in the recap of the notes, and I'll link it above. But let me tell you, it was an absolutely incredible experience and deep dive into the future of Google Ads. And I got to sit down with product managers. Despite the fact that I've been doing this for 20-something years, this was a huge opportunity. What do these announcements mean for your business? That's what's going to be important here. Hi, I'm Sarah. I'm your Google Ads coach and the guide at the Ad Strategy Hub. Here, we move through the noise. We focus on the why and the high-level strategy to empower your business to truly master Google Ads. Today, I'm going to be sharing more about my strategic takeaways from GML, the announcements that genuinely excited me because of the profound impact on how businesses will need to adapt. I'm going to be breaking these down for you. We're going to be continuing our conversation about the power pack of campaign types, AI Max for search, smart bidding exploration, and some of the intriguing new AI agentic tools that you're going to be seeing in the Google Ads interface. So first of all, if you haven't heard of Google Marketing Live, it's where Google lays out its roadmap for advertisers. They do this every single year, and the tickets are highly exclusive. This year, the focus was, not a surprise, more about AI, and it was more intense than ever. Being there in person allowed me to really feel the shifts and understand the underlying strategic intent behind these announcements. My lens is always going to be about your business, though. It's not about just being a Google Ads technician. I'm not going to be showing how-tos on this channel. I am going to be talking and focusing on the why and how to leverage Google Ads for the very, very powerful tool that it is today. One of the biggest announcements was that Google introduced what they called the Power Pack. It's a suite of automated campaign types. It includes Performance Max, which has already been there, the new AI Max for search campaigns, as well as Demand Gen, which again already existed. So the new component is the AI Max for search. This is a massive, massive theme, however, because what it does is it emphasizes the convergence and synergy of these AI-driven campaigns. That is going to be extremely important for you to understand as a small business owner, because the days of these manual, granular controls for every single keyword type, those are fading. Google is pushing us more in the direction of a strategic AI-led approach. But unfortunately, what comes with a AI approach is potentially that wasted spend. So what you're going to need as a business is to really be able to feed the algorithm goals. That's going to be really important, as well as high quality assets, meaning great text. Your landing page needs to be SEO'd, as well as phenomenal emotional lifestyle imagery that this type of system actually thrives on. While small businesses, again, may not be all in Performance Max yet, Google is heavily investing in these products and these automated campaign cross-channel solutions. So this means if you don't understand them now, when it becomes to the point where you have to use them, you may be falling further and further behind. These tools are designed to find customers across the entire Google ecosystem versus just search, which really targets people that are just typing in the search. These campaign types go beyond just search, but frankly, they compete against your search campaigns. So it's really one of those situations where you're going to need to learn to balance the AI with a lot of what we've done in the past in terms of building out campaigns. The biggest announcements with Performance Max included greater transparency. And I will say it and say it again, Google has been for a couple of years all about privacy, which means we've been losing transparency. But this year, Google made a greater step towards transparency. And it's something we've all been asking for. But what's going to happen now is Google is going to give us the data to work with. One of the main issues coming out of this is we aren't going to be able to necessarily pull levers with that data. We're just going to be able to see the data. But normally what tends to happen is when we're given the data, we as the experts learn that indeed we can pull levers. They just may be different levers than what we're used to, which would be pulling back keywords, adding negatives, and doing a lot of manual. So for small businesses, how do you digest this information? What you need to know is that to really reach customers more efficiently and better across Google channels, you're going to need to be configured strategically. These campaigns can be incredibly powerful for lead generation, especially if you have strong conversion tracking and assets. But if you don't have that, you're going to be starting out behind. So when you think about campaign creation, it's no longer about what you can control. It's about what that foundational strategy is behind your setup. You also need to consider that black box perception. If that is a concern for you and you're not equipped to provide the right audience signals, quality assets, and then that conversion data that I keep talking about, you are not going to be able to thrive, especially with this new push that they have towards automation and AI. It is about strategic input and not just your budget. It is about leaning into the platforms versus trying to control every little detail. So my advice to you is to start thinking about Google as an integrated marketing channel. Think about Performance Max for conversions, Demand Gen for awareness and demand, per the name. And then think about the new AI Max for search as a way to supercharge and really leverage your core search efforts. This role now as a Google Ads manager and as a Google Ads company that's smart is going to be less about managing those individual keywords and more about managing your inputs and your goals for the AI to, I hate saying it, but at some level, take over some of that manual work. So now let's get into AI Max for search campaigns. This was a particularly exciting update because it directly impacts traditional search efforts, which is normally by keyword, have your ads show up at the most granular level. But this is going to be moving beyond static keywords to find those more complex search patterns of users. And it's going to be especially important with the rise of voice and longer tail queries. I think this is one that goes hand in hand, and a lot of people may want to deny it, but it goes hand in hand with AI. What's happening with AI is as a user, as somebody who traditionally types searches into Google, we have this additional layer of AI and we're being trained to ask more complex questions. And as the questions get more complex, we tend to pick up our phone and our microphone and just dictate into Google as well as type longer queries. In the past, what was happening with the rise of mobile is people were typing fewer queries because it's just typing on a keyboard. But now, as voice search is getting better and AI is getting better, people are trained to pick up their microphone and do text to speech in that search box as well. And so instead of seeing sort of that arc in the long tail, I think that long tail is going to become more and more infinite. And that plays on Google with this AI Max for search campaigns as well as their other AI tools. Definitely something to think about. That being said, everything I just said about that long tail, Google as a company is really, really, really doubling down on intent. Remember that word, intent. It's not just about matching that keyword. It's about understanding the underlying reasons why somebody would be searching. You want to understand the need, the context, and where that user is in the buyer journey. And the fact of the matter is, like it or not, Google has that information more than we as search marketers have that information, because Google knows where they're located, how many, I will say, what's in their Gmail, right? Like what ads are being served. They know what audience that user falls into. They know previous and searches and predictive modeling. And so this keywordless technology, it aims to go beyond those explicit keywords like buy, red, purse, right? Something super, super explicit. And it goes out to find those high performing and often more complex queries. And I know to a certain extent, and a lot of people say this sounds like Google propaganda, but the reality is there is a gray area in between what Google says and how we see users changing and how people operate. And that is where me and my strategic guidance work as sort of that buffer. I connect what Google says between what I see in accounts every single day working in them, and I marry that for you as the business owner. Another big shift with this AI is the ability to adapt headlines on the landing page, from the landing page, not just copy them. So in the past, when a lot of these products have come into beta and into the market, what we have seen is Google will read the landing page and then publish the headlines. So for example, if your landing page and the H1 tag, if you're an SEO nerd, says sale now, you'll see sale now come up. Google is saying, and I've heard this in the meetings with the product managers, that they will be going deeper into this and be creating a more dynamic, more relevant, and a better ads experience for the user. And again, this emphasizes the importance of your website content as a foundational asset. So your website, Google's going to crawl that, read that, and come up with new creative on its own if you are opting into these campaigns. Now, for small businesses, when you think about this, this gives you the actual layer of being able to capture leads from, again, increasingly complex conversational search queries that you might miss with traditional keyword matching. You're going to be able to go into that higher intent and less obvious search volume. I think this aligns a lot with DSAs, which I have had tremendous success with. And I think it is something that I would recommend that all my businesses try. Start out small, see where it goes, and then look at your data to follow. So when it comes to your takeaway, are your landing pages SEO'd? Are they rich enough for Google's AI to pull those relevant headlines and understand the full breadth of your offerings as a small business? This demands a comprehensive content strategy. This demands that you do work with the SEO teams that you have available to you. My strategic takeaway is to embrace this shift beyond keyword-centric intent and keyword-centric search. You need to think broader picture, and your focus should be on building that comprehensive, high-quality content that speaks to your ideal clients' needs, questions, and then allow AI Max to find those queries. And again, you're going to have to start leaning into this versus pulling back to it, because that is the direction that Google is going.